February 24, 5 a.m. local time, Russia invaded Ukraine. Russian troops crossed the border, and simultaneously, Russian planes started bombing every single big city in Ukraine. That's a map of airstrikes, posted at 5:43 a.m. of the same day. Russia planned to take Kyiv, the capital of Ukraine, in 2 days. It's been 59 days now, and Kyiv stays strong and Ukrainian. Many other cities, however, turned into hell. I cannot think of a single war crime that Russia haven't committed. From prohibited weapons to targeting civilians. That's a photo from Bucha. And that's a photo from Mariupol. Ukrainian army is selflessly fighting to protect our freedom and our people. Right now, a few soldiers in destroyed Mariupol are fighting against thousands of Russian soldiers. They're dying, sacrificing themselves, and still fighting to protect the city and its people. Ukrainian army is truly heroic. But besides army, we also have millions of regular civilians. They appear brave, decisive, and creative enough to resist invaders in many, many different ways. One of my favorite stories is about Ukrainian farmers. Instead of saying, Russian tanks entered my village, they are asking, where is my tractor? And this is why. Ukrainian farmers have been stealing Russian military equipment all over Ukraine. They just come to a tank that Russian soldiers left unattended for a few minutes, attach it to their tractor, and go store it in their backyard. That's such a simple action. But it takes an insane amount of courage. And there are so many more other stories. For example, a crowd of unarmed civilians who did not let Russian army into their city. They were just slowly walking towards the tanks until the tanks started going backwards. Or an old woman in an occupied Ukrainian city who approached an armed Russian soldier and told him to put some sunflower seeds into his pocket so that when he dies here, there is at least something good after his visit. I know so many of those brave people personally. For example, my own dad. I think about him as about a smiling dad who always allows more freedoms than my mom does, and who gets so happy for my and my siblings' accomplishments. That's a photo taken in Kyiv this winter break. Dad stays in Kyiv. He prepared some Molotov cocktails in case if Russian tanks get close, and have been working online and volunteering around since then. There are constant airstrikes around him. And they never go to sleep until he wakes up and texts that he's alive. That's a building less than 1 second mile away from him. There are so many other people I care about who are risking their lives fighting for our freedom. That includes my 75-year-old granddad, who have been biking to his work in hospital 5 miles one way because there were battles in the city, and a car would be too likely to be shot. My 19-year-old high school classmate is also in Ukraine. Just 2 months before Russia invaded, we were walking in the streets of Kyiv, having fun, and looking for a cafe to hide from snow. Now, he's standing on the same streets, but this time, he's wearing body armor and holding a gun. When Russia invaded Ukraine, it was 10 p.m. in Boston. I was in a lab. One of my friends texted in Ukrainian MIT chat a short and accurate notice. Пиздеть. That's the strongest Ukrainian word for everything is very, very bad that I would think of. The news reported airstrikes all around Ukraine. And this is a Retroville shopping mall in my home city, before and after Russian bombing. I immediately started calling my family over and over again to wake them up. And by the time when they picked up the phone, which was about 20 minutes later, I was sitting on the floor in the corridor, hysterically crying, with my hands shaking, and someone else asking if I was okay. I clearly wasn't. By that time, those 20 minutes were the worst in my life. The upcoming days were a horror for my family, my friends, my country, and me. I, along with other MIT Ukrainians, was coping with it by working on supporting Ukraine 24/7. We did not sleep, did not eat, and even, imagine, didn't piss at. Instead, we were organizing rallies. The first one happened in the morning after invasion. Searching for what was helpful to demand, painting posters, gathering contacts, and even yelling at people on the streets. If someone told me a few years ago that I would feel the need to, and really do, yell at strangers, I would reply so quietly that they wouldn't even hear me. I used to be that shy. Over time, we were able to get more people in our team and officially register Ukraine at MIT student group. Now, we are working in several main directions, including fundraisers, collaboration with local volunteers in Ukraine, media outreach, events organization, and more. In 3 weeks, I will also be coming to Ukraine to volunteer on ground and connect with Ukraine at MIT from there. I dropped as many of my classes as I possibly could. And I was working on supporting Ukraine as much as I can. It's hard, exhausting, and painful. Yet, it still feels not enough. However, when each of us does as much as they can, it suddenly works. And the second army in the world that planned to take Kyiv in 2 days ends up struggling even after 59 days. But making the aggressors struggle is not enough. We need to stop them. Freedom and peace are the values that Ukrainians are dying for right now. And they're dying for this, not only for themselves, but also for the whole world. Right now, Ukraine is the shield between the peaceful world and Russian aggression. It is not only Ukrainian fight. If Ukraine has more allies, if you become an ally for Ukraine, and the whole world fights for freedom and peace the way Ukrainians do, freedom and peace will win. But we need you with us. Slava Ukraini. Героям слава. Слава ЗСУ. Thank you.
Just before we go to the next speaker, if people want to get involved with your organization that you founded, do you want to just say informally how they might get involved or anything?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. There are a lot of different ways you can help Ukraine, and many of them we gathered at our Linktree website, which you can follow if you scan the QR code on the board. Also, you can Google Ukraine at MIT Club and find our Facebook page, which also has updates, ways to help, and ways to connect with us.
Thank you, Sasha.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, so our next